2018, February the 26th. Wayne's Crime. Prologue by Dale Howe. If my dad, Alonzo Howe, were alive today, he'd be 135 years old. He was born July 16, 1883, and died September the 25th, 1942. If my brother Wayne Leon Howe were alive, he would be 86. He was born March 26, 1932, and died December the 15th, 2005. A short time before Wayne passed away, his lady friend Sylvia sent me a composition that he had written for an English class sometime in the past. It was titled, My Crime by Wayne Howe.
Child psychologists tell us that we are like we are because of the things that we experienced in the first few years of our life. I think this is probably true. Have you ever stopped to think, why do I react the way I do in a particular situation? I have, and I can usually search my memory to find that experience to relate to. Shouldn't we then, as parents, face all of the shortcomings of our children and act in some way to change the character of the child before any particular manner is ingrained in him? Didn't we teach him to take his first step? Didn't we teach him how to use a spoon so more of the food went on the inside instead of the outside? Why shouldn't we then teach him respect for laws and rules and how to deal with other people? Would you want the kid down the block to teach your kid? In this day of media hype on child abuse, it becomes hard to fit the punishment to the infraction for fear somebody will have you arrested for child abuse. I had 2 boys, and they never got in any serious trouble, and I like to think it was the discipline that they received at home, making them understand the rules, infractions, whatever they were, and discussing the punishment and implementing it. I think that was most important. Why do I think that way? Well, I'll relate an experience I had as a child that made me have respect for other people's property and a great distaste for locks. I was born in my parents' bedroom in 1932, one of 16 children to greet this world, and my parents in that bedroom. My mother was a somewhat rotund, genteel woman with the ever-present apron and her hair done up in a bun behind her head. I don't remember much about my mother except how gentle she was with me. My sister told me that she chased Dad with a broom once when he gave me some whiskey that he was making in the basement. I couldn't climb up the stairs. She died when I was 6 years old. My dad lived until I was 11, but he had a great influence on my life and probably more than he realized at the time. My dad was a very talented person. He could play almost any musical instrument, do good carpentry work and masonry work too. But he was an alcoholic. Very little money trickled down to us from his talents, and therefore we were known as poor. My dad sold some of the whiskey that he made, but he was his own best customer. One day a man in an old Model T truck brought some whiskey from Dad, and he was going to take Dad someplace. They took me along. I don't remember where we're going, but the subsequent events of that day still hang in my mind. These events influenced my character and maybe even my children. The day was hot, and I talked Dad into letting me ride in the back of the truck. The truck looked ancient even for the year of 1938. The fenders seemed to be held on by rubber and flopped like birds' wings every time we hit a hole in the road, which was many. It had a little thermometer sitting on top of the radiator to tell the driver when the engine was getting hot. It had a back window about 6 by 18 inches that was beginning to show a gray line around the edges. It was certainly a relic clattering down that gravel road. Presently the radiator began to belch great clouds of steam, and the driver pulled into a little country store that had one gas pump out front. We got out and the store owner came out to look the situation over. "Well, boys," he said as he looked at the thermometer on the radiator, "looks like she's in the red." My dad reached under the seat of the truck and extracted his ever-present fruit jar. The radiator was encrusted with a recrystallized sugar, no doubt the product of Dad's still. I could not understand at the time how Dad could keep that whiskey down when the truck engine was coughing it up. Well, the store owner says it's going to be a while before I can get that cap off. You need some gas? Okay, the driver said, put 5 gallons in. The gas pump was a strange looking thing to this 6-year-old. It looked like a king with one arm, and a glass face with a red and white crown sitting on top of the glass head. The glass head was marked with numbers up the side of it, and as the store owner moved the arm back and forth, the gas began to fill that glass jar. And the fruit jar made its round again. I looked around and noticed the peeling paint on the front of the building and thought I'd go in and see what was inside. As I walked in, I was greeted by a great cloud of flies that were interested in the meat counter. I looked in the meat counter and saw a lot of ice on the meat. Fingerprints covered the front of the glass and little rivulets of red water ran down the drain. As I looked at the ceiling, I saw several strips of fly paper that were covered with flies without any place to catch any more. While I was looking at the ceiling, I saw a bunch of bananas hanging from a rope near the corner of the room. I went over and noticed how the gnats were attracted to some of the overripe bananas. I sure would like to have one, I thought. Maybe I could just take one. After all, there's a lot of them. The store owner wouldn't miss just one. There's no use asking Dad to buy me one, I mused. I'll just take one and put it under my shirt. While we're going down the road, I can eat it. Dad will never see out that small window in the back of that truck. And even if he did, he wouldn't do anything. I took one banana and stuck it under my shirt and went out and climbed into the back of the truck. The store owner was pouring water in the radiator, and presently we were moving down the road again. Now I can eat my banana, I thought. I took her out from underneath my shirt, and I'd almost consumed this bit of delectable exotic fruit when I noticed the truck was stopping. I looked over the side, nothing here. Maybe the radiator's hot again. About that time, my dad appeared at the back of the truck. He took me off the truck and lectured me on the respect for other people's properties. We must go back, he said, and explain to that store owner why you took this banana. By this time, the banana had been reduced to a skin. Save that skin, he said, and we'll give it back to that store owner. I was humiliated to tell the store owner that I didn't think my dad would buy it for me. The store owner said he would have given it to me if I had asked. My dad told the store owner that this was not the end of it. He was going to take me to jail. The jail was a formidable looking place with drab gray walls and floor. The cells had iron bars on them. My dad explained to the policeman in charge, who looked like he'd been starched into his uniform, that I had broken the law and it must be locked up. The policeman agreed, and the iron barred door slammed behind me. Locked away forever, I thought. No more sitting on my mother's lap and listening to her sing the old rugged cross as she put me to sleep. I'm here forever. I don't know how long I was in that jail before Dad came and got me out, but it seemed like weeks. I've never been in jail since, and have a great dislike for locks. Did this experience hurt me physically? Of course not. Emotionally? Well, there's some question there, but I think not. But it did give me a lot of respect for other people's property and a great dislike for locks. And a side note from the editor here, Wayne never locked his house, and he'd drive that there rambler old car up in his drive, take the keys out of the ignition and throw them up on the console and go on in. Rest in peace, dear brother.